Hi.
And welcome to your 9 a.m. level 1 flow. We are going to start in child's pose. So come to your mat, your knees will come wide to the edge of your mat, your big toes come to touch. Send your hips back to your heels and reach your arms out in front of you. And take some time to settle into your child's pose. Notice how this feels in your hips, in your arms. If you want to, take a yoga block or a rolled up blanket or towel and place it under your forehead so that you can support the head and neck. You can still have that connection with the ground. And in your child's pose, notice your breath. Notice if it's fast or if it's slow, if it's deep or if it's shallow. And as you bring awareness to your breath, maybe your inhales start to lengthen and match the length of your exhales. And notice what your breath sounds like. We're going to use Ujjayi breath, which is victorious breath, and it's heating, it's warming, it's building an internal fire. So as you inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose, there might be a slight constriction in the back of your throat, making your breath into an audible wave coming in, receding out, almost like the ocean waves on a beach. And take 3 more inhales and exhales on your time. In through the nose and out through the nose. And after your last exhale, push yourself up to a tabletop position. So your shoulders are stacked over your wrists, your hips over your knees, with a flat back, neutral spine. And we'll take a few cat and cow movements. As you inhale, drop your belly, lift your tailbone, draw your shoulders away from the ears, and lift your gaze slightly. Exhale, round your spine, drop your head, release your neck, and inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. And you're starting to connect your Ujjayi breath Your inhales through the nose and exhales through the nose, connecting it to the movement. One breath, one movement. And they can be as fast or as slow as your breath dictates. We'll move through 3 more. Inhaling to cat, cow, exhaling to cat. And whenever you finish your cats and your cows, come back to a neutral tabletop position. And we'll move into our first down dog of the day. So move your hands one handprint forward on the mat. Spread your fingers wide and press them into the mat. Tuck your back toes, lift your knees, lift your hips, and press up into a down dog. You can pedal out your down dog, straightening one leg and then the other, and then straightening both legs. And heels may be pressing down towards the mat. They may or may not touch the mat. And your legs may or may not be completely straight. But you want to create a long line from your wrists through your shoulders to your hips so that you're creating that upside down V shape with your body. And take a few breaths here. Inhale, gaze forward to the spot on your mat between your hands and baby step your feet between your hands, coming to a forward fold. You can have your feet hip width apart or big toes touching. Let everything hang loose. In ragdoll, you can let your pinkies rest in your opposite elbows. You can sway side to side. Maybe shake your head yes, shake your head no, shake your head yes again, because we're going to stay positive today. And once everything is loose, root down through your feet, begin to roll up, stacking each vertebra of your spine, one on top of the last. You might engage your core just a little bit to support your spine as you come up. Your head and neck stay relaxed, stay loose until they're the very last things to come up. And shine your palms forward, setting your shoulders down and back. You're rooted down through your feet, but your knees are not locked. And inhale your arms up overhead. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center. You can close your eyes if you wish. But take a moment to recognize whatever it is that's brought you into your yoga practice and onto your mat today. Whatever that is, if it was someone's influence that you respect, if it's your own personal goals, be that for physical, mental, or spiritual well-being, whatever's brought you here, take a moment to acknowledge that. And hey, you made it. You made it onto your yoga mat today. And inhale your arms up overhead. Exhale, swan dive, arms come wide, lead with your heart, come into a forward fold. And inhale, halfway lift. Your hands can come to your shins or your thighs. Squeeze your shoulder blades together like you're trying to keep a pencil from rolling off of your back. And you're creating the shape of a number 7 with your body. So your legs are straight, Your spine is straight. Your gaze is down at the mat so that your neck stays long. One long line. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, big move, sweep your hands up overhead to extended mountain. Maybe take a little back bend. And exhale, forward fold. Plant your hands on the mat from your forward fold. So hands flat on the mat, fingers spread wide. Step your foot back, one foot followed by the other. We're coming into a high plank. You can hinge back and forth here a little bit if you want to. And from your high plank, you can always do this from your knees because you're still engaging your core. It's the exact same thing. The top half of my body doesn't change. So feel free to come to the knees if you want. And squeeze your elbows into your rib cage as you lower down all the way down to the mat, belly to the mat, feet to the mat. And let everything relax for a minute. If somewhere along the line you stop breathing, please start breathing again. That's important. And without putting a whole lot of weight into your palms, on your next inhale, peel your chest up off the mat. So you're coming into a little mini back bend in low cobra. And your neck is still long. Release the other cheek to the mat. Take a breath here. And then inhale, peel your chest off the mat again. Maybe coming up a little bit higher in your cobra. And release down. And this time when you come up, push weight into your palms. And then press back to a downward facing dog. And we'll move through a little bit faster. Inhale, gaze forward to the spot between your hands. Step your feet between your hands, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep your hands up overhead, extended mountain. And exhale, forward fold. Plant your hands on the mat. Step one foot, then the other, back to a high plank to a low plank. So this time you're coming halfway down. You've still got your elbows squeezed into your rib cage. You can flip your feet so that the tops of your feet are resting on the mat and come into upward facing dog. Or you can come into cobra where the tops of your feet and the tops of your legs are still on the mat. So the difference between upward facing dog and cobra. And then press yourself back to downward facing dog. Inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, step your feet between your hands, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Plant your hands on the mat. Step back to a high plank. Your choice, high plank to low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. From here, from your downward facing dog, inhale your right leg up behind you. Foot is flexed, kicking strongly, like you're kicking the back wall. Inhale, exhale, bring that foot between your hands. If it doesn't quite reach, you can pick it up, scoot it forward so that your knee is stacked right over your ankle. Plant your back foot so that it's flat on the mat and it's parallel to the short edge of the mat. So it's sideways. Take a minute. When you're ready, Rise on up to warrior two. Your hands are teed out and your gaze comes over your right middle finger. Your right knee is tracking right over your toes. And if that knee wants to collapse in a little bit, you can use your hand and draw it back. And take a minute to settle into your hips here. Get a feel for how open they are, how they're feeling. And on your next inhale, reach forward. Exhale, tip over into extended side angle. And your side angle could be reaching your right fingertips down towards the ground. It could be resting your forearm on your thigh. And your left arm might be reaching up towards the sky, or you might choose to take a half bind. Either way, draw the left shoulder back so that you're opening the chest to the front. And your gaze can be up, your gaze can be out, or it can be down at your front foot, whatever feels best on your neck. Return to your breath. Inhales through the nose, exhales through the nose. On your next inhale, let that top arm draw you up and over into reverse warrior. Stay low in the lunge in the front leg. Don't let that lunge disappear. One more breath here, and exhale. Cartwheel your hands down to the mat, framing your front foot. Send your front foot back to meet the back. And take your chaturanga, high plank to low plank. Inhale, upward dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. This time, inhale your left leg up behind you. Lunge it through. Take a minute to set up your stance. Plant your back foot. Rise on up to warrior two. And in warrior two on the left side, take the same time and care that you did on the first side to explore where your hips are today. And you might want to shorten your stance or widen it a little bit, depending on how your hips feel. And then with your left knee tracking over your left toes, spread out your arms, gaze over your left hand, and breathe. If you are building up quite a bit of heat, you can inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth to release some excess built up heat. And inhale, reach forward. Exhale, tip over into extended side angle. Find your side angle. Option to take a half bind or not. And remember, someone's giving you an imaginary high five, and so that right shoulder is drawn back, opening the chest. On your next inhale, that top arm pulls you up. Reverse warrior, stay low in the lunge. And exhale, cartwheel your hands down to the mat. Chaturanga, send your front foot back. High plank to low plank. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. And we'll move through a little bit faster. One breath, one movement. Inhale your right leg up. Exhale, lunge it through between your hands. Rise on up to warrior two. Reach forward. Extended side angle. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, cartwheel the hands down. Step back. High plank to low plank. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Inhale your right leg up. Exhale, lunge it through. Rise up to warrior two. Inhale, reach. Exhale, side angle. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, cartwheel down. Chaturanga. One more flow. Inhale, right leg up. Exhale, lunge it through. Warrior two. Reach. Extended side angle. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, cartwheel down. Chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Left leg up. Exhale, lunge it through. Rise up to warrior two. Inhale, reach. Exhale, extended side angle. Inhale, reverse. And exhale, cartwheel down. Once you take your version of Chaturanga, we will meet in child's pose. You can bring your knees wide, send your hips back. And if you've lost connection with your breath, find that connection again. Letting any excess heat out with your exhales through your mouth. And this is a good time for a little water break as well, to stay hydrated. And when you're ready, swing your legs out in front of you so you're coming to a seated position. And we're going to take a boat pose. So for boat, you want to be sitting firmly on the ground, sitting up tall. Your knees are bent with your feet flat on the ground. And I like to start by having my hands behind my thighs for a little extra support. Once you're sitting up nice and tall, you can start to lift one toe off the mat and then the other. If you have boat pose in your regular practice, you might bring both feet up off the ground. You want to make sure that you're not routing the back and collapsing, or that you're not leaning back to get the toes off the ground. You want to stay with your core engaged, keeping your spine lengthened as you bring the feet up. If this is a pretty good core workout for you here, and your abs are saying, hey, I'm here, then you can stay here. If you would like to, bring your arms out to the sides, you can. And for an added challenge, you can straighten one leg and the other. You can keep them bent. But make sure that that core is tight and engaged the whole time. And release back down to the mat. And we'll take boat pose one more time. Sitting up nice and tall. Bringing one foot, then the other. Your choice to bring the hands out wide. And if you want a little added challenge, you can move from a high boat to a low boat and then crunch back in. And release your feet back down to the mat. Slide your legs out, shake it out if you need. And we'll move into bridge pose. For bridge, release your back down to the mat. And for this, you can definitely round your back. Slowly rolling down and bringing the legs up. Maybe give them a nice hug into your chest before setting the feet back down on the mat. And it's very important to keep your gaze up to the ceiling. So I'll try and cue this so that you do not have to look at me, because you don't want your head turned towards the side to look at a screen. You want to protect your neck from any injury. But with your feet flat on the mat and your knees bent, scoot your heels in towards your fingertips. Your fingertips are reaching towards your feet. And your feet are hip width apart. So they should be right in line with your hands. Take a nice big inhale. And as you lift up your hips, squeeze the thighs towards each other so that your knees are not splaying out. Your knees are staying parallel to your hips. And your hips are lifting towards the ceiling. If you want to, you can lift up your shoulders a little bit, tuck your shoulders underneath with your fingers interlaced. And then release down. And I'll do one more bridge. So make sure that your feet, your hands, everything's where you want it. Inhale, lift the hips. Squeeze the knees and the thighs towards each other, keeping them in line. Tuck the shoulders underneath the back if you want. Optional added challenge would be to keeping the knees in line, lift one leg without letting the hip drop. And then you can try the other one if you want. And release back down. Take a counter pose by drawing one knee and then the other into your chest and giving them a big hug. Maybe take some rock and rolls or side to side movement. You can draw circles on the ceiling with your knees to massage your sacrum and your low back. And then we're going to come back up to a tabletop. So getting into tabletop, you can roll over onto your side and press yourself up. Or if you'd like to, you can rock and roll your way to seated. And then from seated, you can rock forward onto your hands and knees. Either way works. From your hands and knees, we'll push up into a downward facing dog. Maybe take another minute to pedal out this down dog and see how it feels different from your first one. It may or may not, but usually it does after you've done a few. From here, inhale your right leg up behind you. Exhale, lunge it through. And come on up to warrior two. And from your warrior two, straighten your front leg. We're going to move into triangle pose. So with that front knee straight, kick out your hips to your back leg so that you can really get a good reach forward. And you might be feeling it in that front thigh, maybe in that front calf a little bit. And reaching forward, then tip over We're moving into triangle pose, and your triangle pose might be right here, and that's okay. Your triangle pose might involve having a block so you can make that connection between your fingertips and the earth. Your triangle pose might look a little bit different if you've got your fingertips all the way down on the mat, but you find your triangle and breathe. Make sure that as you're creating length in your side body, that you're not crunching your other side, that you're not collapsing the ribs. You want to keep space in your rib cage for breathing. We'll take 2 more breaths here. Inhale and exhale. On your next inhale, bring both of your arms up and pivot your right foot in, and then toe heel your feet just a little bit closer together and have your feet at about 45-degree angle outwards. So you're making a pizza slice. Bend your knees. You can bring your elbows into your rib cage for this, for horse pose, or you can have your hands together at heart center. And take a look down and see if you can get your knees to track over your toes into that pizza slice. And if they're knocking in together a little bit, maybe come up higher and see if you can get them to come out. And once you've got your stance figured out, sink a little deeper into those hips. Stay lifted through the chest so that you're not bowing forward over your legs. Take one more breath and rise up to a 5-pointed star. And this time, turn towards your left leg. So your left foot is going to come out straight towards the front of the mat. Left foot parallel to the short edge of the mat. If you want to, you can come into the warrior 2 first so that you have your stance set up. Straighten the front leg. Kick your hips to your right side, which was the front of your mat. Now it's the back of your mat. And then reach forward, tip over for your Trikonasana triangle pose. And this side might feel different than your first side. That is okay. Figure out what triangle is to you on this side. Grab a block or some props if you need. If you don't have a yoga block, you can use a stack of books or a couple of cans of food out of your cabinet. There's all kinds of stuff you can use. I'll take 2 more breaths here. Inhale and exhale. Let your next inhale draw you up to the side of your mat again. This time, pivot your left foot in so that both feet are parallel. So they're not pizza slice this time, they're parallel. Tee out your arms. You can actually put your hands on your hips if you want to. We're going to move into a wide-legged forward fold. Some people like to scoot their feet a little farther apart. You can do that. But keeping your back flat, lead with your heart as you start to come forward. And then once you can't go with a flat back anymore, release your hands down towards the ground. Again, you can use blocks to help your fingertips meet the ground. If they are already there, you can continue to bring the top of your head down towards the ground. And if it feels good to you, you can bring your head all the way down to the ground or down to a block that's on the ground, making that connection with the earth so that you're feeling supported. And breathe here in your wide-legged forward fold. If your head is in the ground, on the ground, walk your hands in towards it and walk your hands back towards the center of your body so that you start to lift your chest. Place one hand on your hip and then the other, and then with a flat back, come the rest of the way up. And then walk your feet in towards each other. And then we'll take a balance pose. We'll move into tree today. So pick whichever foot you want to start on and root down through that foot. Maybe play with shifting weight into the heel and the ball of the foot back and forth until you find that center. Spread your toes nice and wide. See if you can place them back down on the mat one at a time. And then keep a little micro bend in your supporting knee so that that leg can remain fluid. And shift the weight into your supporting leg. When you're ready, lift the other foot. You can set it at your ankle, at your shin, or bring it up to your thigh and let that knee come out to the side so that your hips are open. You can really set your foot anywhere as long as it's not on your knee joint. From here, you can bring your hands to heart center, or you can start to bring the hands up overhead as you grow your branches. And bring your focus, your drishti, to a fixed point somewhere in front of you. It can be down on the ground out in front of you or on the wall, as long as it's not something moving. If you'd like to challenge your balance a little bit, you can try to close your eyes, removing that point of focus and bringing your focus inwards. And if you fall out of your tree, that's okay. You can pop right back in. And then bring your hands back to heart center if they're not already there. Slowly, with control, release the foot back down to the mat and then shake out your legs if you need. Shake out that supporting leg. And we'll switch sides. So choose your opposite foot to be your supporting leg. Root down into the mat, planting each toe, and then keeping a micro bend in the knee for flexibility. When you're ready, lift the other toes up off the mat. Choose where you want to set it on this side. Could be the same, could be different. Once you've got your tree set up on this side, decide if you want to grow your branches. And your tree does not have to be symmetrical. One branch might be up, one branch might be out to the side. You find what your tree looks like on this side. And find your drishti or point of focus. Or close the eyes and bring that focus in. Root down through your supporting foot. It's strong, immovable like the roots of a tree. At the same time, you're lifting up, sending your energy upwards through your branches, through the crown of your head. And release your foot back to the ground. Shake it out, shake out your supporting leg. And we'll bring it on down to the ground. You can come to seated, whichever way works best for you. And bring both legs out straight in front of you, toes pointed up to the ceiling for staff pose. And with your sit bones on the ground, inhale your arms up overhead. Start to hinge at your hips with a flat back, leading with your heart towards your thighs. When you can no longer keep a flat back, you can release your hands down to the ground or down to your legs. And if you wish to, you can fully collapse over your legs, releasing your head and neck. And the goal here is not to be the first one to touch your toes, because it's not PE class, thank goodness. The goal is to lengthen the back of the legs. And just like a standing forward fold, if you have your knees bent, you can also have your knees bent in the seated forward fold. And breathe. If you're still maintaining your Ujjayi breath, your even inhales through the nose and exhales through the nose, maybe start to relax that breath into a more natural pattern. Let yourself start to cool down. And then place your hands to either sides of your legs and use your fingertips to walk back up to seated. We'll make our way onto our backs. So you can bend your knees, you can take hold of the back of your thighs and roll down, or you can get onto your back however you want to. From your back, extend your left leg out straight and hug your right leg into your chest. And then draw that right leg across your body gently, just using your hand for guidance, not pushing on it, just gently guiding. You can tee out your arms to the sides if you want, cactus arms, or you can rest one hand on that right thigh. If this does not feel very good, you can put a block or a pillow or a blanket under that knee to support it so that this becomes a restorative pose for you. Slowly use your hands to guide that knee back to center. Give it a hug. And then slide it down along the mat to meet the other. This time, draw your left knee into your chest, giving it a good squeeze. When you're ready, draw that left knee across your body gently, just using your hand for guidance. If you want to use some props under there, rearrange your props, get them under your knee, you can do that. And then when you feel even on both sides, use your hand to guide the knee back to center. Hug it into the chest one more time. And then draw the other knee up to meet it. Our last pose today will be a happy baby. So you can use your peace fingers to grasp your toes, or you can bring your hands to the outside of your feet and kick your feet into your hands as you use your hands to draw your knees in towards your armpit. You can stay here. You can experiment with straightening one leg and then the other. You can rock side to side if that feels good. And then take whatever last minute movements that you need or that would feel good for your body before you settle in for your final Shavasana. You can release your legs down to the mat. You can point your toes, reach your hands up overhead, and take a big good morning stretch. Or maybe a yawn and get all your yawns out. Yeah. And you can rest your hands down by your sides, or you can rest a hand on your belly and a hand on your heart. You can keep your legs straight out on the mat, letting your feet fall open to the sides. Or if it feels better for your low back, you can bend your knees with your feet flat on the ground and then let your knees knock together to relax your low back. And find your pose for your Shavasana. You can use whatever blankets and pillows you've got handy to make yourself comfy, because this is your chance to rest, to thank your body for the hard work that it does for you on and off the yoga mat. And it's your time for everything that you've done and worked on in your yoga practice to sink in, to set in. So it's a time of quiet rest. You can feel your breath becoming more natural, more relaxed, letting go of any built up heat from your practice or any leftover tension. And you have 7 minutes left of this 1 hour class for your Shavasana. Of course, please take more time. If you have the time, I encourage you to stay as long as your body is enjoying that rest. But if you have to be conscious of the time that you've set aside for this class, then you have the remaining 7 minutes, and I will close class here so that you can end your Shavasana whenever you want. But thank you for choosing to do yoga, for coming back to that reason, whatever's drawn you to the mat and to yoga practice in your life. Thank you for sharing yoga practice with me. And the light in me sees, honors, and reflects the light in you. Namaste.